Hi guys, this is Fernando doing another video for the Modern Survivalist channel. In this case I'm gonna be reviewing a very interesting knife, so it's a bit of a special treat. This is a Busse Boss Jack combat grade knife. It's the knife currently being offered by Busse. If you're not familiar with the Busse name brand, they make quite interesting knives. This is the second one I own. I own the Combat Bushwhacker Mistress, which is a much larger knife. I'm going to be showing it. I think I've showed it before as well. And they have a particular way of marketing the blades. It's a bit of a collector's item in some way. There's a following a community, so they organize gatherings. Jerry Busse is very involved with the clients as well, so it's from the marketing point of view, it's very interesting because it works very well for him, and people like him. People like the knives that he's offering, and the knives themselves are outstanding. The knives are very good. Knives by Busse. It's in my opinion, it's the best knife money can buy these days, and that's not a statement I make lightly. I really mean it. If you find one being made by Busse, a particular shape that you like, and you think it's going to be working for you, I hardly think you'll be disappointed with it. In general terms, there's a couple of things that I don't like about it, and I'm gonna be going through that in a second, because even though I like Busse knives a lot, and it's understandable based on what I just said that it's, in my opinion, the best knife money can buy, but there's still a couple of things that I don't like about it. So I'm not exactly a fanboy of Busse, thinking everything it's perfect and couldn't be improved. No, I think that as great as it is, there's a couple of things that could be improved. But let's get right to it in terms of the knife review. We're talking about a 6.25 inch blade, right? This is about 15 centimeters. It's around 11 inches overall length. So it's what I would call a medium-sized knife. This isn't a large or small knife at all. If you want something large, you would be going for something like this, the Busse Bushwhacker, which is pretty big. It's a huge knife, and it does what it's supposed to do very well. Alright, you see the general theme of Busse. You see that they have a particular design, and it works well, it looks good, so there's not much to dislike about them. So what would you be using this type of knife for? It's a general purpose knife. Clearly could fulfill a variety of roles. It has a decent finger guard, so it could be used for defensive purposes as well. The blade is 0.22 inches thick. Okay, it has a very classic shape to it, in spite of the colors, which I just love the way it looks. It's fabulous the way it looks. The shape itself is pretty classic. This is a very typical knife shaped blade. They're not reinventing the wheel with this. There's nothing strange about it. This will work. It's a slightly clipped tip, so this would go from food processing, for a knife being carried on the field, even for troops. It's light, so it's not as if you're carrying a ton of knife, yet you have a knife that will fulfill a variety of roles. And for someone that is just having one knife and one knife only, it's very reassuring to know that the one knife you have is in fact a Busse. Busse uses a particular steel that it's proprietary from them, that's called Infi steel. The actual chemical composition of Infi steel is known, and it's not a brand name, you know, as it happens sometimes that they find, for example, they use 1095 steel, which is something that anyone can buy, and they call it super special steel. Okay, and they register that name in spite of using an ordinary steel that anyone can buy. Infi steel is proprietary from Busse, and you're only going to be finding it from Busse. You're not going to be going to a metal store or a knife supplier store and buying Infi steel. You only get that when buying a Busse knife. Or I think that the scrapyard knives as well. Anything that is related to Jerry Busse, he will be offering Infi steel, but nowhere else are you going to be finding this steel for you to make your own knife with it. And even though they did find out the composition of Infi steel, I think it has nitrogen and some other things. They lab tested it and found out the composition of the steel. What it's not that clear is the heat treatment that they do and the sub-zero quenching. There's a couple of things, a few things that it's not yet understood why it does as well as it does in the field. In the actual practice, if you see on knifetest.com, this guy Nos, he does torture tests to knives and he ends up breaking them, and one of the knives that withstands all those torture tests better than any other knife is the knives made by Busse. They're larger knives. They cut through concrete. They are used as cold chisels against metal pipes, and I mean a variety of torture tests. That show why it is that you're paying as much as you do for a Busse. And once you understand that, the price isn't as expensive, because you're really getting something that it's out of the ordinary. Even among brand name knives that are considered very good, that are considered excellent, in fact, it sometimes happens that because of a poor heat treatment they end up cracking. I know a guy that he had his very big reputable brand name blade snap in two just by chopping through a piece of wood, and it's on the internet. I'm not gonna be saying the brand name because it could have happened to anyone. They took care of it, they replaced it. But especially since I always go around the survival topics, what would you feel if you have this one knife you're trusting your life to and it suddenly breaks in half when chopping through wood? It's not only disappointing, it's life-threatening as well. So it's good to have a knife. This knife, you know for sure that you could use it as a crowbar and it's not going to be snapping, because the heat treatment is not as the ones you will find in other knives, where you may have a good edge, it does its work as a knife perfectly well, but when you do something that is beyond the purpose of the knife, it's snapping. The Busse knives, man, you could use it as a crowbar and it's gonna be hard for you to break it. It's gonna be taking a huge effort from you to break a Busse knife. So, well, yeah, that's it about the steel. The steel is basically the key about why people like Busse so much. Why do I like them so much? Is the steel and sensible, reasonable blade geometry and a very eye-pleasing design. It has an epoxy finish. In the limited edition versions, it's pretty much the same, but it's polished. The steel, you don't have this epoxy finish, so it's just polished, which I would prefer, but it gets more expensive. This knife costs $267. The limited edition, the one that is polished, costs $397. So you're talking about $130 more just for the same blade just being polished. And it is an advantage because when cutting through material, this textured finish, let me show you a bit closer. This texture finished will have a bit more friction when going through the material itself. Okay, you prefer this to be polished. If it's that important for you, you can polish it yourself and spare yourself the dollars, or just pay the extra for it and get the one that says limited edition, and they are numbered, I believe. The handles, these are G10 handles, orange and black. They call them pumpkin handles, and I mean, again, just love the way it looks. I think it's outstanding. So there's lots of things this knife would be excellent for. It's not a big chopping knife like the one I showed you before, but for most of the things you would expect a knife to do, this knife won't be letting you down. Very reasonable shape. It has a bit of an extension here, so you could be using it for for a hammer, a skull crusher, breaking windows, or just burying your camping sticks when putting up a tent, whatever it is. You'll just be wearing out a bit of the finish, but it's not that big a deal. This will be showing some wear as you use it, and I think it's just a bit of a badge of honor to have it worn out a bit. It's not that bad. I think it still looks good when it starts wearing. These rivets are placed with a huge amount of pressure, so they're not going to be coming loose anytime soon. I mean, it's really hard for you to achieve that. It's like a ton of pressure that they put on each one of these. This is G10, so everything about this knife is extremely solid. The handle, ergonomic, it's for my hands are just average size hands, medium size I suppose, and for me it's just a tad small. Would be better just a bit bigger. And if you have small hands, even if you have medium hands like mine, it's gonna be okay for you. If you have small hands, it's gonna be pretty much ideal. If you have medium-sized hands like mine, it's gonna be okay. And if you have this huge bare paw, it may be a bit small for you, but you still have lots of room here, as you see, so it's not really an issue. So lots of things to love about the steel, the geometry of the knife, the looks, it's all great. What about the things I don't like about it? It's very specific, and it's just two things that I don't like about it, and that I don't like about Busse knives in general. In spite of being, in my opinion, the best knife money can buy, these two things could certainly be improved. First, the edge. When you buy a knife and when you pay $267 and wait for 6 weeks for a knife, you're expecting a razor sharp edge. Okay, this edge is not bad. Let me show you. I don't have much of a way of proving that, of showing you that. It cuts through paper, okay, which you would expect from any knife, so it's not a big surprise in that department. It doesn't cut with, you see all that feathery edge on the paper that I just cut? That happens when you have a knife that isn't razor sharp. If this was a razor sharp knife, I would do this and not have any hair left. I do have to put some pressure to remove some hair from my arm. Okay, so it is sharp in the sense that it does remove hair from my arm. If putting a bit of pressure and doing a bit of an effort, it will remove some hair. It's not razor sharp as many excellent brand name knives are out of the box. If I have a Benchmade knife or a Spyderco knife, some of the cold steel knives, and I do this, I have no hair left in my arm, none at all. With the Busse, some cut, some don't, and you really see this, what I mean, when looking closer. You see the small scratches on the edge. Those small scratches mean that they've used a grit that isn't small enough. They didn't do a fine job at polishing that edge. Okay, so when you have those small scratches across the edge, it just shows that it hasn't been sharpened properly. It's done an okay job, so to speak. So it cuts, but it's not razor sharp as it should be. And when you have such a knife, when you have what it's top of the line knife, and you're paying the amount of money you are and waiting the amount of time you are when buying a Busse, you expect a much better job. This knife, well, they show the name of the person that sharpened it. It's the second knife I have from Busse, and both had the same issue. It's sharp, it's okay sharp, but marginally better from a Tramontina machete that I would buy for 20 bucks. I don't know if you understand what I mean. It's okay, but it's not as good as it really should be. So with a bit of care, doing a bit of custom work and sharpening myself a bit, polishing this edge so that it's mirror reflective. Okay, when you polish that edge perfectly well, you will have the desired edge and the desired extreme sharpness you want and you expect from this knife and this type of steel. Busse said in his website that they had done things differently this time so as to get a better edge. That they first sharpened the knife completely and then added the epoxy finish and then sharpened it again some so as to have a much better concave shaped blade and a better edge. It's still the same edge I got from my other knife, from my other Busse knife. So it's really a shame that it's not razor sharp, scary sharp out of the box as it should be. So that would be point number one. On the second thing that should be improved about Busse knives, and something that it's a bit of a debate, is that they come with this sheath. Alright, this is the sheath you get from Busse as it comes. It's not something that you're gonna be bragging about your sheath. And this is the package it comes with. Alright, I don't really care about this. I couldn't care less about the paper wrapping and all that. I don't expect a fancy box from a knife, from a custom made knife. When I buy custom made knives, they come with they come in any sort of packaging, and it's okay, because what I care is about a knife. Okay, if I buy a custom knife, this is a custom knife that I've showed you before. Okay, custom made, razor sharp as it should be, and I'm not kidding when I say custom made knife. It really is beautiful knife, excellent quality, everything you should expect from it. But okay, it has a sheath. Okay, it may not be the perfect one I would have in mind. It's not ideal. It's not perfect for everyone. Some people may like it, others may not. But at least it has one. At least I can grab this knife and go wherever I want and not worry about it. In this case, no, I have this piece of paper as a sheath, and that's pretty disappointing. In his website, I'm gonna be checking it out so as to say exactly what it says. When you click on sheath options, when I first click on this sheath options, I thought I would have a few options to choose from when buying my knife. What it's only showing you is a few custom sheath makers so as to go and check them out. They're not giving you options so as to buy with your knife. And it says that they're not giving you the Busse is not including a sheath with its knife, and I quote, "This is to your benefit, as you are now able to choose the type, style, and maker of your very own custom sheath." I mean, seriously, is this for my benefit, not giving me a sheath with my knife? Is that benefiting me in any way? Certainly not. It's kind of funny that he actually said that or wrote that in the website. It's not for your benefit at all, because for my benefit would be having some sort of sheath so as to have my knife when I receive it, and and if I want to take it in for a trip or something, just grab my knife and go. What happens is that you end up being forced to go to a custom sheath maker, and I've done that, and look what happens. Look what I have. Okay, I bought this knife like several months ago, and I'm still waiting for my custom sheath, because that's what happens when you have to buy every single thing custom. I already bought the custom knife. Why do I have to wait for the custom sheath? Okay, it seems pretty silly to be offering you a knife and not, I mean, the moment you receive it, you cannot even take it for a 2-day hike because you don't have a sheath to go. It doesn't make much sense. At least to me it doesn't, and it's one of those things that makes you wonder. I understand that the custom thing, the custom feel of the Busse knives and all that, is still some sort of sheath. It's miles and light years better than not having anything at all, than having this sheath, which is just a piece of paper. An integral part of your knife is the sheath. If you don't have a sheath with it, you cannot practically move the knife around. You have to be very careful so as not get cut. Guys, custom sheath, custom knife comes with a sheath. You may like it, you may not like it, you may prefer Kydex, you may prefer a million other things, and everyone is different, and I get that. But at least you have one. So I get this knife. I just got it today. Okay, so let's suppose I got it today. I actually got it from, it's 1994 it's made, but suppose I get it today. I at least have a sheath maybe not my most fantastic, the one I like the most, but I can throw this knife in a pack and go hiking or go on a trip or whatever it is I want to do. So it's not really in your favor not to be offered a sheath with the knife you're buying. Think of buying a Glock without having at least a box so as to carry it to the range. Think about ladies, you buy jewelry from Tiffany and they just give it to you in a small bag, and no, we don't include the wrappage and the package because we concentrate only on the item, you know. So here you go, take it. Dude, please give me a sheath so I can move the knife around without getting cut once I sharpen it, right? So it's just those two little things that this is just my opinion. There's gonna be a million people out there, especially the Busse fans, are gonna be saying, oh, that's pure bullshit, it's great the way it is, that I love waiting 6 months for a sheath after I buy my custom knife. I don't like that. I prefer at least having a $10 sheath, a $20 sheath, and at least having it until if having a custom made sheath is that important for me, then I'm gonna be doing it anyway. But at least I have a sheath so as to get by until that is done and I receive it. So it doesn't happen to you like it happened to me, that I'm still waiting for that very nice and it costs more than a few bucks, the custom sheath for this knife. But I'm still waiting for it. It's been months and I'm still waiting for it, because that's what happens with custom made stuff. So when you buy one custom made item, it doesn't make much sense, at least to me, to be waiting for yet another custom made item so as to be able to use it. Again, just my opinion, and in spite of all this, it's the best knife your money can buy. Okay, in spite of that, you will have to resharpen it yourself, you will have to get a sheath yourself, but because of the general shape, the sensible and logical geometry used by Busse with his knives, in most cases, some are kind of extreme, but in general they are very sensible, well designed blades, and the steel is, as far as I know, the best steel made for knives until now. If you have knowledge of a better steel, just please let me know about it. It's perfect if you could post some proof about it being better, some videos, some torture tests or something like that, and proof that it's actually better. So far, from all that you could possibly find these days, Infi steel by Busse is the best steel for a knife. And still extremely happy with my purchase. Just those two little things. I'll have to sharpen it a bit more and get a sheath, which I already ordered. Not only one, but two, because since it's not directly linked to the item, you don't know how well it will go, you know. So again, the sheath issue for me, it's a problem, and something that they could improve so as to make it even better. It's excellent, and solving those two little problems would make it even better. It would make it in fact perfect. Perfect, like the Glock is a perfect pistol because of so many reasons, and you can actually explain why the Busse would be perfect if they fix those two little inconveniences. Loving the shape, outstanding, it's ideal. A medium-sized blade that will do a number of things. You could, and if the survival situation calls for it, and this is the only blade you have, prying open doors, windows, cracking through stuff, abusing and using this knife, and still having a blade that's going to be easily sharpened again to razor sharp edge, it's fantastic. So guys, keep in mind that you'll have a waiting period of some sort. It's not something that you get directly when you buy from Busse. It takes a few weeks to get delivered, but it's totally worth it if you want something that it's pretty unique in its own way. You have a variety of choices between the finish and different colors for the handle as well. So you can have it could be all black, if it could be a mud colored blade, or a different color for handles, canvas and epoxy. There's a variety of stuff you could do and have a pretty unique item and extremely functional blade. So guys, that's it for now. Hope you enjoyed this little review of the Busse Boss Jack. Have very unique names used by Busse. Gonna be checking that again just in case, because sounds fun. Yeah, Boss Jack, that's the name. and this is the one currently offered by Busse. Guys, remember to subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and see you on our next video. Take care.